stage. We are exploring what composers did with the symphony in the first decade of the 20th century. In our first concert this season, we looked at the Second Symphony of Jean Sibelius. Now it's the Elgar, which is the most recent of the whole bunch, even though it was from 1908. And in March, we will play the Fourth Symphony of Gustav Mahler. I'm also happy to report that on the fourth concert, it's all about what composers are doing now, especially the last two pieces, one of which will be a world premiere, the Third Symphony of my wonderful colleague, Charles Shadle. We're looking forward to that. So, what we can do. Because it will also fill in the gap, because we will have done a first, a second, and a fourth, and he'll fill in the third. Very, very convenient, I think. We just missed the 106th year anniversary of this piece. This piece premiered December 3rd, 1908. And even though Elgar had already experienced much success in his life, such as the piece we know and love, the Enigma Variations from 1899, the piece that simultaneously said a farewell to the 19th century and looked ahead in the most glorious way with this new talent that would come from, of all places, England. More on that in a minute. After 1906, Elgar hit a bit of composer's cramp. And like Britain would do later on, he discovered that the way out of his composer's block was to look back at works that he had written as a child. And by exploring works, the scribblings of a teenager or younger, he was re-inspired. His vision was reborn. He wrote the wonderful Wand of Youth Suites, which Mizzo also performed a number of years ago. And then finally sprung into action the long-awaited symphony. Now, 10 years prior to this, Elgar had said that he was working on a symphony. And people were waiting for a symphony from him. And it didn't come, it wouldn't come, it wouldn't come. And just like Sibelius and so many other composers, the last little bit of inspiration would be to go to Italy. And Elgar, in the first few years of the 20th century, would winter in Rome. So his family went to Rome, was inspired, took a snippet of melody that he had written years before, and said, this is where my symphony comes from. This is the glorious, opening, noble statement of the first movement. It's the theme that pervades the entire symphony through. He worked fast and furiously after that. Whenever he was inspired, he could work very, very, very quickly. He was not somebody that could work quickly by necessity or by threat of death, like Rossini, because many an impresario wanted to kill Rossini. In fact, he used to joke that all the impresarios of his time were bald by the age of 30 because of people like him. When the work premiered, the first symphony by a major English composer was a genuine rarity. And I would be very surprised if in this room, either out here or here, anybody has heard a symphony by an English composer live prior to 1908. There were symphonies. Stanford wrote symphonies, Perry wrote symphonies, John Ireland wrote symphonies, Sir Arthur Sullivan wrote a symphony, a wonderful symphony, in fact. Nothing caught within the country, nothing caught the energy and the passion of the country, and nothing caught on internationally until this symphony. Weeks after this symphony had premiered with the Halle Orchestra in Manchester, 4 days later it would premiere in London, and then New York, Prague, Vienna, Boston, Chicago, all within a few weeks of the premiere. It was a massive, massive hit. And it's the only symphony that's still performed with any regularity that is in this key. A-flat major is a genuinely bizarre key for a symphony. I know Glazunov fans, I know, but it's not performed regularly. What's even weirder key-wise is you're going to hear the opening, very diatonic, straightforward, A-flat major, noble, in the pomp and circumstance vein that we all know and love from Elgar, the Nimrod variation, Elgar. And then it juts into this allegro that is in D minor. Now you go, okay, A-flat, D. That is a tritone away. That's genuinely strange. Right? And something unprecedented for the time. As it turns out, Elgar did it initially on a dare. He was dared that he couldn't make a tritone relationship within the guise of a first movement sonata form. And so these players have to suffer with this very difficult tune in D minor at the very beginning. All on a dare. The moral is don't dare anything compositionally, ever. It moves fast and furiously. It moves with changes of tempo, changes of key in a very passionate, late romantic way, almost in a Brahmsian manner. I think the Brahms, especially in the Third Symphony. Then the scherzo. The scherzo, the Allegro molto. We have a little bit more percussion joining us. It's an F sharp minor, which is fine relative to the D minor we were just in, but again, from A flat major, pretty weird. Right, takes some weird terrain. You're going to hear a very fast, scurrying melody that starts in the violins, which I have to play it enough, so I'm not having to play it now. But what is fascinating about it, and a brilliant use of Elgar's economy of melody, is that that fast melody becomes the beautiful, golden, tender melody, almost note for note, of the third movement. The third movement, as the Premier's conductor Hans Richter said, is an adagio such as Beethoven would have writ. And I say writ apostrophe because that's how he said it. It's a glorious D major movement, again, with the slowed down version of the melody that the violins had played in the scherzo. And if you could imagine a world in which Mendelssohn, Brahms, and Strauss had an adagio kid, it would be this movement. It's glorious beyond description. The fourth movement brings it all together. And almost every symphony post-Beethoven is bringing something together, whether it's in one movement, like the Brahms 4, where he brings the theme variations aspect together at the very end. Elgar brings the motive, the opening notable motive together at the very end, but not without lengthy struggle. It's another fast and furious type movement that we don't finally get back to A flat until the very end, crowned in glory. It's a marvelous work. It's an epic work. And I hope for some of you, I don't know, probably for most of you, this is the first time you will have heard this piece. I hope you enjoy it and take away the sense of, why haven't I heard this glorious symphony before after this performance? The Elgar First Symphony. Thank you again for being here. Students, I hope your finals go fabulously well. Faculty, I hope the grading of finals goes fabulously well.